What's going on, guys? This is Randy from Modified Motorsports. I have just had this car a little over 2 months. This is more of a build blog than anything. This car has, I think, about 13,000 miles on it. It's a Civic Si 2018. Let's see, about 13,128. Sorry for the weird stuff. Couple things that I don't like about this car is the climate control access. You press the button and then you can access your climate control and go from there. But sometimes when you're driving, and I drive this car a lot, like I said, I've only owned it 2 months and I've already got 13,000 miles. Sometimes when you're driving, you want to adjust things. You don't have to keep pressing this button to get into climate control. Press it back to close it or wait for it to close. You just want like something right here that's easy access to get to, and that's kind of annoying. I know a lot of people have griped about this radio and the climate controls on these things, but yeah, it is kind of annoying. Another thing is that this thing has a USB that's up here, and if you don't own one of these, this is going to be kind of a breakdown of it, but there's a USB right here, and then there's a regular port in the front. Well, this shit is hella far away, and most of the cords aren't that long to fit like your phone or wherever pretty close by, so you have to kind of stretch the cord, which sucks. And I know a lot of cars are converting to USB, and this is why it has it everywhere here and over there, but it's just kind of annoying if you are kind of, came from a car that didn't have USB. Here's my major gripe. This guy right here. This is a spare tire that I had to purchase just the other day after blowing out a tire and realizing that there's no spare tire. And so I was on the freeway and they were constructing, and then a big piece of plastic came off of a construction truck, and I literally blew out this tire. Like, I can't use some type of sealant to fill a tire that has a huge gash in it. So what good does this do me, Honda? What good does this do me if I can't even do anything with it? So this is supposed to have a sealant inside of it, and it has an air pump. Great. If I need to put air in my tire, that's fantastic, but guess what? I really don't need to put air in my tire. I need to replace the fucking tire. And so I have a useless, spare, empty trunk that I can't even use. So I bought this for $10 from someone on OfferUp. I don't know if it fits yet. I'm going to lift up the car and go ahead and put it on, but this is annoying. And in order to purchase the entire kit, it's $478 or more from the dealer. I just got a quote from it. Reason being is because you have to buy that because it lifts up now. The new one lifts higher up onto the trunk. Then it gives you like pieces of foam right there to lift up there, and pieces of foam right there to lift up there to cover the gaps, so that way your spare tire can fit. Because if you put it under there right now, which I'll demonstrate, the spare tire is not going to fit on top. So the kit that comes with this basically has a foam piece that goes around the spare tire now, and you can fit it underneath without it looking like this. That's a major gripe for me, especially when you drive a lot, and at the moment I don't have 100-mile AAA. My AAA is only 7 miles, and I drive 80 miles from work. So that's a major gripe. And my following gripe is also this wheel gap. So I bought some Skunk 2 lowering springs. I'm about to go ahead and put those in, but this wheel gap is horrendous. And for being an SI, I would think they would give us a little bit more of a stance look, but I get it. Honda guys and Honda people don't necessarily have the same preference as I do, so I guess that's just one of my own gripes. The lane change assist. you have a button right here that allows you to lane change, because there's blind spots in this car, which is actually pretty bad. If you look right here, if there's a passenger that's sitting right here, you can't really see a car into that window, and it's a perfect view actually, because look at that car that's barely in the background right there. I literally have to twist my head all the way over there to see that car. But if I only twist my head enough and there's a passenger right here, you won't be able to see anything right there. So they give you the lane change assist. You turn your signal and it gives you a lane change assist. Well, guess what? When I'm just making a right-hand turn and I'm not merging into a lane, it's kind of annoying that it always turns on. So you can actually turn it off by pressing the button, right? Or you can leave it on. That's nice and dandy, but why give me one and not the other? It's like almost like if you turn left, you don't get anything. I'm gonna turn it off real quick. If I turn right, it's on. If I turn left, there's nothing. Why give me one and not the other? I mean, I know you can see a lot more out of these windows as being the driver, but give me one view but not the other. So that's kind of another gripe. I don't know what other people have as far as theirs, but that's one of my major ones. And I don't like the wing. That's just my preference. The SI wing is kind of shitty. It's not a Type R. I get it. They had to come up with some type of other solution to make it distinctive from the base models. But this thing sucks. And what sucks worse is I bought a Type R wing to put on here, and I have it painted. Just recently ended up getting it painted. Well, this trunk doesn't allow me to put the new wing on because there's a hole here, there's a hole here, 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 over here. There's like 10 holes that this trunk has in order to secure this wing. That shit's not even really necessary because it's not even freaking completely solid anyway. So now I have a bunch of holes that need to get either A, filled, or B, I'm going to be switching this trunk, which is really what I'm leaning towards. I've been messaging people on OfferUp to go ahead and switch the trunk. And I have one guy that's trying to give me the factory OEM one that has no holes and just is the base model. In return, he gets the SI badge and trunk. It's just a hassle because, you know, if I wanted to get it welded, it would take a lot. My last gripe is the HIDs. And I'll go ahead and show you what I mean. Hi, neighbor. These lights suck ass. From the OEM, they're projectors, they're projector lenses, and that's fantastic for adding HIDs. But whatever it is, and I'm hoping it's just my bulbs, there's like a plastic or something that's obstructed somewhere in the middle, like right around there, and it leaves a beam of empty light. So when I shoot out the entire LED or HID bulb onto the freeway or wherever I'm at, there's literally like a blind spot of light like this, looking like that. I don't know if it's just a defect of my light, but I've seen another Honda Civic that had the same thing, and theirs does the same thing with HIDs. I highly recommend getting HIDs in these because it helps so much, but the fact that they're not very consistent as far as their output kind of bothers me. And the fog lights do the same thing. I don't have HIDs in the fog lights. In fact, I just replaced this one because of the accident, but those things suck. And being in a place where there's a lot of fog up in Oceanside, it kind of makes a big difference to have something that works functionally. What else is my last gripe? Would probably end up being the fact that this car doesn't have a very good clutch at all. And that's a common issue with everybody. Everybody's been complaining about it. The first thing I plan on doing after I get some major money is getting a new clutch. The clutch in this thing sucks so bad. I purchased, well, before this car, I had a Subaru STI, and I know I shouldn't be comparing the two because it's a night and day difference car, but the clutch feel in this thing is retarded. It's very soft, which is nice for daily driving, but when you have a heavy load, for example, if I end up putting that spare tire in, I have a full box of tools, I have a jack that I constantly take with me everywhere to do some side money stuff. By the time I load it up, this car is already lowered. And let's see, right now it's about 3 fingers. By the time I load it up, I'm maybe about 2 fingers, or maybe a finger and 3/4. This car slips like crazy with any heavy load in it, and that's not even including passengers. So imagine if you end up having all 5 passengers in here. It really doesn't work very well. Not to mention the sport mode doesn't really help very much at all. It does help with the active dampeners, but it really doesn't help as far as the speed. I'm not sure if it's just my car or not, but this thing, when I put it in sport mode, I feel like the throttle response is different, but not in a better way. In fact, whenever I end up playing with this car, I usually leave it out of sport mode, unless I'm, in a turn or something, and then I'll play with it with the sport mode that way, because then it just changes the dampeners. But it does not help at all as far as throttle response. I feel like I actually have more boost in a normal mode than I do out of the sport mode, and that's just weird. I'm not sure if it's just my car or not. So, this is a 2018 Civic Si. Those are my little gripes. I at least hope that the spare tire thing will give somebody a realization of what they need to be doing with that. That should help somebody. And, oh, you know what? I totally forgot about that exhaust. That thing is fucking ugly looking. That's on the to-do list. And, you know what? I also have one last other gripe. Maybe you have kids like me. I have 2. I also have 2 stepkids. I have nowhere to charge their tablets in the back. So if they all die, it's the worst drive ever. There's nothing back here as far as outlets. So guess what? This piece of plastic right here, I'm actually going to put some outlets right there, some USB ones, so that way they can charge their tablets. That's one thing Honda should have thought about as far as these, because these are, it's a sedan. Think about your passengers in the back. If you Uber with this thing, your passengers would love you if you had some type of mechanism to charge their tablets or charge their phones or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and do a tutorial about that as well. I actually just got them in today. The chargers are just going to basically sit flush right here, and then they can charge their stuff from here. So, this is just a build blog. Follow, subscribe. Let me know what you think.